Okay, we're looking at mixed exercise 7 from the first year core textbook, and we're on question 8. So I'm given a quadratic. Remember, I'm not told the x coefficient or the constant, but I am given 2 bits of information. So I think the main part of this question is recognising what that notation means. And all it means is if you substitute -3 into the function, you should get an answer of 0 out. So if I substitute -3 into this, so 2 times -3 squared plus p times -3 plus q, that should all equal 0. And that actually means that x plus 3 is a factor, but we probably don't really need to look at that specifically until part B. So let's tidy that up. So -3 all squared is +9, so that's going to be 18. We'll write that as -3p plus q is 0. Okay, so we can see where we're heading with this question, because I've got one equation with 2 unknowns. So if I do the same thing with the x is 4 and f of x is 21, I'm going to have 2 equations and 2 unknowns that I'll be able to solve. So when you substitute 4 in, you get 21 out. So 2 times 4 squared plus p times 4 plus q is 21. So what is that going to be? 2 times 16 plus 4p plus q is 21. So there's my 2 equations. So really it's just deciding what I think is the easiest way to solve those. I think there's quite a few variations. I think I'm just going to take the constants over and do sort of the GCSE method. So the first one, oh, for goodness sake, sorry. Right, so first one, I'm going to minus the 18 from the right-hand side. There's lots of variations on how you might rearrange these. The second one, I am going to minus the 32 from the right-hand side, and then I am going to subtract them. I'm going to, well, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to do the bottom subtract the top just to avoid the negatives. It doesn't really matter which way you go. So I'm doing 4p minus 3p. So I'll, oh, you don't need to do that. Okay, good. I don't know how to get rid of that. Right. So I'm going to do, so I've done 4p minus 3p. So then I would do q minus q, it's nothing. So I'm doing minus 11 minus 18. So I get p is 1. Okay, but there's lots of different ways you might have done that. You might have made q the subject of each of them and or substituted one into the other. Okay, so now I know that p is 1. I am just going to pick what I think looks like the simplest, so maybe that one. So if p is 1, that becomes 4 times 1 plus q is minus 11. So that would give me q is minus 15. Okay, so they would be my 2 solutions. And that was worth most of the marks. Just going to double check those before we carry on. P is 1 and Q is minus 11. So that was worth 6 marks. That's the bulk of the question. Then we get asked to factorise. Well, so now we know what P and Q are. Let's write out the actual Q quadratic. Sorry, so 2x squared. So we said P was 1 and Q was minus 15. Yeah, so this is very nice actually for 2 marks because all I've got to do is factorise that quadratic. But also, they told me what one of the factors is, because if when I substitute minus 3 and I get 0, that means x plus 3 is a factor. So the other factor has to be, well, it has to be 2x, because it's 2x squared, and then it has to be minus 5, because it's minus 15, and then I can just check the x term. So that would give me 6x minus 5x, so that would give me 1x. Okay, so the only thing I'm going to add to that, just to be on the safe side, because it is worth 3 marks, is I'm going to do a final line where I just clearly say f of x is x plus 3 times 2x minus 5. Okay, that's not too bad for 3 marks. Let's just check that. X plus 3 to x minus